Hi folks. So in this video I'm going to talk a little bit about proofreading your paper, what you can do to sort of just take a look at your draft, your essay draft, and catch all of those errors that are preventing you from sort of taking your writing to the next level. And when you proofread your paper, you're looking for errors in grammar, in spelling, in punctuation and capitalization. You should also go through and make sure that all your citations are correct. So if you're using APA style, make sure you're familiar with APA formatting and citation style. If you're using MLA style, make sure that your citations are properly formatted for MLA style. If you're not sure what kind of citation style you should be using, ask your instructor or your editor, whoever it is you're writing for, and ask them what kind of citation style is required for this paper. So your proofreading is sort of almost the final stage before you submit your paper. It's after you've done sort of more major revisions of structure and order of paragraphs and that kind of thing. Proofreading is more, looking at the details of the text and looking at your writing, seeing if there's, a comma out of place, an apostrophe needed, all these little things where you get marks taken off of if you do it incorrectly. And you do need a strong grasp of grammar in order to do proofreading properly. And so I would recommend, practicing your grammar, finding a good grammar handbook. But you can also use the resources on your computer. So usually there's a spell check or grammar check option in Word and other programs as well. And I would recommend when you use those, I would definitely run through that spell check, grammar check with your paper before submitting it. But make sure you're just, double, reading through each of the changes, the suggested changes that they put out for you, because not all of those changes are going to be correct. Some of them, are specific for your context of your paper. So it might want to try to make a change that you don't want. So just make sure that you're going through and not saying accept all changes. You're actually going through one by one. Other tips that you can do in order to proofread your paper is to read it out loud. So when you read something out loud, you really have to pay attention to what's on the page. So in that way you can catch, maybe if you need a period here or there, or a comma to take a pause. You can catch any sort of errors if you read it out loud and something doesn't make sense. It's obviously, not going to make sense to your instructor or whoever's marking your paper as well. So if you read something out loud and it doesn't make sense, flag that with a highlighting pen or whatever it is that you have, and make sure that you're going back to revise that sentence to make sure it makes sense. You can also try looking at your paper with fresh eyes. So sometimes when we reread a paper multiple times, we stop seeing the errors in front of us, and for whatever reason we get tired or bored halfway through reading. It's a good idea to just put it down and then come at it tomorrow morning with fresh eyes, where you can sort of now see things for what they are and catch errors that maybe you overlooked the night before. So definitely if you're somebody who writes writes your paper the night before, reread it the morning of to look at it with fresh eyes before you submit it. And I would again advise you not to do that. So give yourself a lot of time is the next one. So instead of writing it the day before, give yourself a full weekend to write a paper and then a couple of days to revise it before the due date. And it might take you even longer than that if you're somebody who really, takes a long time to write something. It might take you weeks to work on a paper. So take your time with the revision process as well. Just because you've done the first draft doesn't mean you're done. the whole process of writing is about revision and proofreading. That's where you really take your draft and make it into a more polished paper. And then the final tip here is just to ask for help. So usually your university has a writing center, has tutors or grad students that they employ to help as TAs. So take advantage of the options that are out there who are willing to help you and take a look at your paper for you and advise you on ways that you can improve it. I always say for my students to go to the University Writing Center. I used to work there when I was, a grad student, and we're here to help you, right? So they're there to sort of read through your papers and give you the best advice possible, coming from a position of experience, and they've done multiple papers, so they know what is expected. So again, ask for help. And if you are really, want help, you can ask a friend or a relative, but it's best to sort of go to those academic sources because they'll have the expertise that you need, or they can answer those questions for you. So I would say first try to go to a university writing center and ask for help there, and use those resources that are available to you as students. Okay, and then I'm going to take a look at a paper that I have a draft of, and I'm going to do a little bit of proofreading of it just to show you an example of how you might go through the proofreading process. Okay, so in my paper I have here, one of the first things that you can do is to go in the review option in the header, and they do have some features here that you can use. They actually have a read aloud function here, so you can have the computer read it out loud, and then you can follow along and see if it makes sense to you. They have a grammar and spell check, so let's just go through that and see what they come up with. So I would do this with your paper before you submit it. So here it says possible word choice error. So meat can hold up to 20 times more zinc than non-animal food. So it's suggesting putting a dash in between non and animal. So yes, I think that is correct. Here they want to add or remove a comma. So if vegetarians were to fully supplement their diet with the nutrients, so they recommend that. So yes. So again, it's important to go through some of these one by one in order to make sure. So in this case, they are trying to correct this name of one of the authors to one of these choices, and I know that these are incorrect, so I want to make sure that I ignore once for this one, and I'll ignore. And here adding comma, so yes. So again, you want to make sure that you're going through these one by one in order to catch any errors. But don't take the computer always as correct, because some of these are going to be, again, case specific to what you have in your paper. So you just want to make sure you're going through them one by one. And then I would say that's the first step. So obviously do a spell check of your paper and make sure that it is, that the computer checks it for grammar and spelling. But I think you could also go through it yourself and make sure that, all the citations are correct, that you're introducing your citations, and you're catching any errors that maybe the computer missed. You might add transitions at this point. So if this is, say, your first point, you might say, add a stronger transition in your topic sentence. So one of the criticisms of vegetarianism is that they do not get the nutrients they need to maintain a healthy blah 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 blah. Okay, so if I'm talking about adding a transition, I might say one, and then the next paragraph I might say another. So I'm adding maybe stronger transition words and phrases in order to improve the flow of my writing. Other errors, so here meat contains a lot of these nutrients, however supplements can be taken to combat the deficiency, price, and access. Oh, okay, so something's wrong with this sentence. So meat contains a lot of these nutrients, however. Okay, so when I have, this is outlining this word or underlining it, so something it's recognizing as an error. So that should, again, flag my attention that this should be changed. In this case, we have a run-on sentence. So I need to include a semicolon to correct that error. And now the underlining has gone, so I've corrected that error. So let's just read through now. So meat contains a lot of these nutrients. Semicolon, however, supplements can be taken to combat the deficiency. Price and access deter many people. So this is also a run-on sentence. So I need to revise. So however, supplements can be taken to combat the deficiency. Yet price and access deter many people. Okay, so I've made sure that I've added, in this case, a conjunction word in order to fix that comma splice error or that run-on sentence. Here, quite commonly, vegetarians are found to be iron deficient. Okay, so maybe in that case I should cite this. So I'm going to add citation. So I don't want to make generalizations in my paper. I want to make sure that they are backed up with expert opinion. So I'm going to make sure that there are sufficient a number of citations included to back up any statements I make. High levels of iron are found in lean meat such as liver and certain fish. When I'm proofreading, I'm going to look at comma placement. Does a comma need to be here? No. If you have 2 items in your list, you don't need a comma between them. And here I might also add just a citation just to back up this information. If it's not common knowledge, I should just add a citation. Iron is an important nutrient because it helps with oxygen transport in the body, making it necessary to live. Making it necessary to live. Okay, no, I don't like that. Maybe which is necessary to live? I would maybe, this might be removed. When the human body is heavily iron deficient, it can become anemic. Okay, so yeah, now we're putting in our proper citations. So yeah, sometimes it's you know, you have to proofread and make sure your citations are there and that they're accurate and that you've done enough to support your points. And in some cases, you know, things that you might know might not be common knowledge. So if you're in doubt, put in a citation. Okay, so yeah, you can just go through at the level of your paper. Make sure you're adding things like stronger transitions and checking your citations and making sure things like run-on sentences are corrected. Those are sort of some levels of proofreading that you can do in your writing. And those are some strategies that I would do. So read through it carefully, read through it again just to look at the citations and making sure you're doing enough to properly support any points you're making. Run through the grammar, the spell check option, and go through that one by one carefully in order to catch all of the mistakes that the computer is picking up on. And then go through the whole paper in detail, including your reference page. So make sure that you're, you know, dotting your I's and crossing your T's. In an APA case, make sure you're italicizing what's supposed to be italicized, adding in what the most the most recent version of APA suggests, and again, correcting any small errors that you see in terms of capitalization, comma placement, italics, all of those little things that can make you lose marks in your final paper.